The fluorescent lights of Terminal 3 cast everything in shades of sterile white and pale blue. Jennifer Hayes stood at the boarding gate, her leather briefcase weighing heavy in one hand, her phone pressed to her ear with the other. The voice on the line was her assistant, rattling off tomorrow's meetings with the kind of urgency that had once made her pulse quicken with anticipation. Now it just made her tired. She ended the call mid-sentence and slipped the phone into her coat pocket. Outside the floor-to-ceiling windows, rain hammered against the tarmac, turning the runway lights into watercolor smears. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. Seattle in November had a way of making everything feel temporary, like the city itself might wash away if you stopped paying attention. The gate agent's voice crackled over the intercom, announcing boarding for Flight 2847 to Miami. Jennifer adjusted the strap of her bag and moved toward the line, her heels clicking against the polished floor. First-class passengers only. She'd earned that privilege through 15 years of ruthless competitiveness, of choosing ambition over everything else, of building an empire in commercial real estate that had made her one of the youngest billionaires in the Pacific Northwest. But tonight, standing in a near-empty terminal with rain drumming overhead, she felt none of the satisfaction that was supposed to come with success. She handed her boarding pass to the agent, received a practiced smile in return, and stepped onto the jet bridge. The air smelled like recycled oxygen and the faint chemical tang of cleaning solution. Her footsteps echoed in the enclosed space as she made her way toward the aircraft door. Inside, the cabin was dim, lit only by the soft glow of overhead reading lights. A flight attendant greeted her with the kind of warmth that came from years of training rather than genuine feeling. Jennifer nodded and moved down the narrow aisle toward her seat. Row 2, Seat A window, just the way she always booked it. She stowed her briefcase in the overhead compartment, settled into the leather seat, and closed her eyes. The low hum of conversation filled the cabin as other passengers boarded, a white noise she'd learned to tune out on countless flights just like this one. Miami was a quick stop, a property acquisition that needed her signature, then back to Seattle by Thursday. Another city, another deal, another hotel room that looked exactly like the last. The seat beside her shifted as someone sat down. Jennifer didn't open her eyes. Whoever was would either want to talk or they wouldn't, and she had no interest in small talk tonight. But then a voice, small and curious, broke through her thoughts. "Mommy, is that the plane?" Jennifer's eyes snapped open. The woman in seat 2B was fumbling with a seatbelt, trying to secure it around a small boy who couldn't have been more than 3 years old. The child was pointing out the window at the rain-slicked wing, his face pressed close to the glass, breath fogging the plastic. The woman finally got the belt fastened and sat back with a quiet sigh of relief. Then she turned, as if sensing Jennifer's gaze, and their eyes met. For a moment, neither of them moved. The woman's face went pale, her lips parting slightly as recognition dawned. Her hand instinctively went to the boy's shoulder, pulling him closer in a gesture that was both protective and reflexive. Jennifer felt the air leave her lungs. "Sarah," she whispered. "Sarah Mitchell." The name landed between them like a stone dropped into still water, ripples spreading outward, disturbing everything. Sarah's throat worked as she swallowed, her fingers tightening on the boy's shoulder. She opened her mouth as if to speak, then closed it again. The boy looked up at his mother, sensing the shift in her demeanor, his small face creasing with concern. Jennifer couldn't stop staring. Sarah looked different, older in some ways, softer in others. Her dark hair was pulled back in a ponytail, a few strands escaping to frame her face. She wore jeans and a sweater, casual in a way Jennifer had never seen her. But it was still her. Still the woman Jennifer had loved more than anything, the woman who had walked out of her life 4 years ago without explanation, without goodbye. The boy tugged on Sarah's sleeve. "Mommy," Sarah blinked, tearing her gaze away from Jennifer to look down at him. "It's okay, sweetheart. Everything's okay." But her voice trembled, and Jennifer heard the lie in it. The boy turned his attention back to the window, pressing his small hands against the glass. Jennifer should have looked away, should have pulled out her laptop or her phone, anything to create distance. But she couldn't, because when the boy turned his head, just for a second, to glance back at his mother, Jennifer saw his face clearly for the first time, and the world tilted. He had her eyes, the exact shape, the exact color. A shade of green so specific that Jennifer had only ever seen it in one place, her own reflection. The slope of his nose, the curve of his chin, even the way his eyebrows drew together when he concentrated, all of it was familiar in a way that made her chest tighten. She gripped the armrest, her knuckles going white. Sarah noticed. Of course she noticed. She always noticed everything. Their eyes met again, and this time Sarah's expression wasn't just shock. It was something closer to resignation, like she'd known this moment would come eventually and had been dreading it. Jennifer's voice came out rough, barely audible over the hum of the engines starting up. "Sarah, oh, not here." Sarah cut her off, her tone sharp but quiet. She glanced around the cabin, at the other passengers settling in, at the flight attendants making their rounds. "Please, not here." The boy turned fully in his seat, looking at Jennifer with open curiosity. He tilted his head, studying her the way children do, without pretense or filter. "Hi," he said, his voice bright and unguarded. "I'm Noah." Jennifer's throat closed. She forced herself to smile, though it felt like her face might crack. "Hi, Noah." Noah grinned, showing a gap where a tooth should have been. Then he turned back to the window, distracted by the movement of a luggage cart outside. Sarah's hand trembled as she reached in her bag and pulled out a small toy truck, handing it to Noah to keep him occupied. He took it eagerly, making quiet engine noises as he rolled it along the armrest. The plane began to push back from the gate, the low rumble vibrating through the seats. The flight attendants moved through the cabin, checking seat belts and overhead bins. The cabin lights dimmed further as the safety video started playing on the screens. Jennifer sat frozen, her mind racing. The math was simple, unavoidable. 4 years since Sarah had left. A boy who looked to be about 3, maybe just turned. The timeline fit perfectly, horribly. She turned to Sarah, her voice low and tight. "We need to talk." Sarah kept her eyes forward, her jaw set. "I know. When? After we land." "Sarah." "Jennifer, please." Sarah finally looked at her, and there were tears in her eyes now, barely held back. "Just give me until we land. Please." The plane turned onto the runway, engines roaring as it picked up speed. Jennifer felt the force push her back in her seat, felt the moment the wheels left the ground and the world fell away beneath them. She closed her eyes and tried to breathe. The ascent was smooth, the kind of climb that barely registered if you weren't paying attention. But Jennifer felt every second of it, every foot of altitude that took them further from the ground and deeper into a situation she couldn't escape. When the seatbelt sign finally chimed off, Sarah unbuckled Noah and pulled him on her lap. He settled against her chest, still clutching his toy truck, his eyelids already growing heavy. Sarah rubbed his back in slow circles, a gesture so natural in practice that it made Jennifer's chest ache. Jennifer turned to look out the window. Below, the lights of Seattle were disappearing into cloud cover, the city reduced to a faint glow in the darkness. She'd left that city 100 times, flown away from deals and meetings and obligations without a second thought. But this time felt different. This time, she was leaving something unfinished, something that had been unfinished for 4 years. She heard Sarah whisper something to Noah, too quiet to make out. The boy murmured a response, his words slurred with sleep. Within minutes, his breathing had evened out, his small body going limp in Sarah's arms. Sarah shifted carefully, trying to adjust Noah's position without waking him. Jennifer watched out of the corner of her eye, saw the tenderness in every movement, the way Sarah cradled him like he was the most precious thing in the world. And he probably was. Jennifer's hands clenched in her lap. She wanted to demand answers, wanted to shake Sarah and ask why, how, when. But she couldn't. Not with Noah sleeping between them. Not with the other passengers settling in for the long flight. So she waited. The flight attendant came by with a cart, offering drinks. Jennifer asked for whiskey neat. Sarah shook her head, declining. Jennifer downed the drink in one swallow, welcoming the burn. The hours stretched. The cabin grew quieter as passengers dozed or lost themselves in movies and books. Noah slept soundly, his small hand fisted in Sarah's sweater. Sarah stared straight ahead, her expression unreadable, her body tense. Jennifer tried to focus on work. She pulled out her laptop. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time. So if you're enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Opened a spreadsheet, stared at numbers that refused to make sense. After 20 minutes, she gave up and closed it. She glanced at Sarah. How long were you going to keep this from me? Sarah's jaw tightened, but she didn't turn. I wasn't keeping it from you. Then what would you call it? I call it survival. The words were quiet, but edged with something sharp, something that made Jennifer pause. Sarah finally turned to look at her, and the exhaustion in her eyes was startling. You don't get to do this right now, Sarah said, her voice barely above a whisper. You don't get to act like I owe you anything. He's my son. Is he? Sarah's eyes flashed. Are you sure? Because last I checked, you made it very clear that nothing mattered more to you than your company. Not me. Not us. Not the future we talked about. Jennifer felt the words like a slap. That's not fair, isn't it? Sarah shifted Noah slightly, her movements careful. You chose your empire, Jennifer. You chose late nights and closed-door meetings and putting your name on buildings. You chose all of that over me. So don't sit here now and act like I took something from you. You did take something from me. Jennifer's voice was low, dangerous. You took the chance to know him. You took 4 years I can never get back. Sarah's eyes filled with tears, but she blinked them away. I took nothing you weren't already giving away. The silence between them was thick, suffocating. Jennifer wanted to argue, wanted to defend herself, but the words wouldn't come. Because somewhere deep down, in a place she didn't want to look, she knew Sarah was right. 4 years ago, Jennifer had been on the verge of closing the biggest deal of her career. A multi-billion-dollar acquisition that would have cemented her place among the most powerful developers in the country. She'd worked 18-hour days, sacrificed weekends, missed dinners and dates, and the small moments that made a relationship real. And Sarah had stayed. Through all of it, Sarah had stayed. Until one day she didn't. Jennifer came home to an empty apartment. No note, no explanation. Just Sarah's key on the counter and half the closet cleared out. She tried calling, tried showing up at Sarah's office, tried everything. But Sarah had vanished, blocked her number, moved without leaving a forwarding address. Jennifer had told herself she was better off. Told herself the relationship had run its course. Told herself she didn't have time for someone who couldn't handle the demands of her career. But now, sitting beside Sarah with a child who had her eyes sleeping between them, those justifications fell hollow. The plane hit a patch of turbulence, a brief jolt that made Noah stir. Sarah soothed him with a soft hum, and he settled again. Jennifer watched, feeling like an outsider looking in on a life that should have been hers. Why didn't you tell me? Jennifer asked finally, her voice stripped of anger, just exhausted. Sarah was quiet for a long time. When she spoke, her voice was barely audible. Because I didn't want him to grow up feeling like he was a burden. Like he was something you had to fit into your schedule between board meetings. You don't know that's how it would have been. Don't I? Sarah turned to her, and the sadness in her eyes was unbearable. Jennifer, you couldn't even commit to dinner plans. How was I supposed to believe you'd commit to a child? Jennifer had no answer. Because Sarah was right. She'd canceled dinners, postponed trips, missed birthdays. She'd always had a reason. Always had something more important demanding her attention. And Sarah had forgiven her, over and over, until she couldn't anymore. I would have tried, Jennifer said quietly. If I'd known, I would have tried. Maybe. Sarah looked down at Noah, her hand smoothing his hair. But I couldn't take that risk. Not with him. The flight attendant's voice came over the intercom, announcing they were halfway to Miami. Jennifer glanced at her watch. Another 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours trapped in this seat, with this woman, with this child who was somehow hers, and yet completely unknown to her. She closed her eyes and leaned her head back against the seat. The exhaustion she'd been fighting for weeks settled over her like a weight. She thought about the deal waiting for her in Miami, the contracts that needed her signature, the conference calls already scheduled for tomorrow morning. None of it seemed to matter anymore. When she opened her eyes again, Sarah was looking at her. Not with anger, not with resentment, but with something that looked almost like pity. "I'm sorry," Sarah said softly. "I know this isn't fair to you, but I did what I thought was best for Noah." Jennifer wanted to argue, wanted to rage against the unfairness of it all. But she was too tired, too hollowed out. "Can I ask you something?" Jennifer said. Sarah nodded. "Does he know about me?" Sarah's expression flickered, just for a moment. "No." "Does he ask?" "Sometimes." Sarah's hand continued its gentle motion on Noah's back. "I tell him his other mother had to go away for work, that she's very important and very busy. And he accepts that. He's 3. He accepts what I tell him." Sarah's voice softened. "But he won't always. One day he'll ask questions I won't have good answers for." Jennifer looked at Noah's sleeping face, at the curve of his cheek, the flutter of his eyelashes. He was beautiful, perfect, and completely foreign to her. "What do you want from me?" Jennifer asked. Sarah seemed surprised by the question. "I don't want anything from you." "Then why are you going to Miami? Is that where you live now?" "No, we live in Denver." Sarah hesitated. "I'm going to Miami for work." "A conference?" "What kind of work?" "I'm a child psychologist. I run a practice specializing in early childhood trauma." Jennifer absorbed this. 4 years ago, Sarah had been finishing her doctorate. She talked about opening her own practice, about making a difference. Jennifer had encouraged it, even offered to fund it, though Sarah had refused. "You did it," Jennifer said. "You opened your practice." "I did." There was pride in Sarah's voice, but also caution, as if she wasn't sure whether Jennifer's interest was genuine. "That's good. That's really good." They fell into silence again. Outside, the sky was black, dotted with stars that looked close enough to touch. Jennifer watched them, thinking about all the flights she'd taken, all the cities she'd flown to in pursuit of the next deal. She'd crossed this country 100 times and never once felt this unmoored. Noah shifted in Sarah's arms, making a small sound. Sarah adjusted him gently, pressing a kiss to his forehead. The gesture was so natural, so full of love, that Jennifer felt something crack inside her chest. "Can I?" Jennifer stopped, unsure how to finish the question. Sarah looked at her, waiting. "Can I hold him?" Jennifer asked, the words coming out rough. Sarah's expression shifted, surprise giving way to something more complicated. She looked down at Noah, then back at Jennifer. "He's asleep," Sarah said carefully. "He doesn't do well with strangers when he wakes up." "I'm not a stranger. I'm his." Jennifer couldn't finish the sentence. What was she? A mother who'd never held her child? A parent who'd missed every milestone? Sarah's face softened, just slightly. "Not tonight, okay? When we land, when he's awake, we can figure this out. But not right now." Jennifer nodded, swallowing against the tightness in her throat. It was a reasonable response, a protective response, the response of a mother who knew her child, who understood his needs and limits. Jennifer was none of those things. The plane droned on through the darkness. Jennifer ordered another whiskey. Sarah declined again. They sat in silence, the space between them filled with everything they weren't saying. Jennifer found herself studying Noah's features, cataloging every detail. The way his hair curled slightly at his temples, the small scar on his chin, the constellation of freckles across his nose. She wanted to memorize him, to somehow make up for all the moments she'd missed by absorbing this one completely. "He looks like you," Sarah said quietly, following Jennifer's gaze. "Does he?" Around the eyes, the way he furrows his brow when he's concentrating. Sarah's thumb traced a gentle circle on Noah's shoulder. "He has your determination too. When he wants something, he doesn't give up." Jennifer felt a strange mix of pride and loss. "What else?" Sarah considered. "He loves building things. Blocks mostly. He'll spend hours creating these elaborate structures, then knock them down and start over. He's patient with it, methodical. Like engineering." "Like you," Sarah corrected gently. Jennifer had started her career in structural engineering before moving into development. She'd loved the precision of it, the way everything had to fit together perfectly or the whole thing would fail. She still thought that way, approached every deal like a blueprint that needed to be drawn and executed flawlessly. "What else does he like?" Jennifer asked, hungry for details, for anything that would help her understand this small person who was somehow part of her. Sarah smiled, and it was the first real smile Jennifer had seen from her all night. "Dinosaurs. He's obsessed with them. Can name probably 20 different species. His favorite is the Brachiosaurus because it's the tallest and has a long neck for eating leaves." Jennifer felt her lips twitch despite everything. "Smart kid. He is." The pride in Sarah's voice was unmistakable. "He's curious about everything. Asks a million questions. Sometimes I think he talks more than he breathes. He's quiet now. He's exhausted. We had an early morning flight from Denver to Seattle, then had to wait 5 hours for this connection. He fought sleep the whole time, but it finally caught up with him." Jennifer processed this. "You flew to Seattle just for this flight?" Sarah's expression shuddered slightly. "It was the only way to get to Miami today. The conference starts tomorrow morning." But Jennifer knew Seattle, knew the flights, the routes. There were direct flights from Denver to Miami multiple times a day. Sarah hadn't needed a route through Seattle. "You knew I'd be on this flight," Jennifer said slowly. Sarah's silence was answer enough. "How? Your assistant's assistant." Sarah's voice was quiet. "We went to college together. She mentioned you were traveling to Miami today. I looked up the flights, saw you'd booked first class on the red eye." She finally met Jennifer's eyes. "I thought if I was going to tell you, it should be somewhere you couldn't run away. Somewhere we'd have to talk." Jennifer sat back, processing this. "You planned this." "I did. Why now? After 4 years, why now?" Sarah looked down at Noah, her expression a mix of love and fear. "Because he's getting older. Because he's starting to ask questions I can't answer. And because," she paused, her voice dropping even lower, "because I'm tired of running. I'm tired of looking over my shoulder, wondering when you'll find out. I thought it was better to control how it happened. So you ambushed me on a plane. I gave us a space to talk without interruption, without you being able to throw money at the problem or have your lawyers handle it." Sarah's eyes flashed. "I wanted you to see him, to understand what you missed, and to understand why." Jennifer wanted to be angry, wanted to rage at the manipulation, at the 4 years of lies by omission. But underneath the anger was something else. Gratitude, maybe, because Sarah was right. If she'd just called, if she'd sent an email, Jennifer would have found a way to control the situation, to handle it on her terms. This way, she had no choice but to sit here and face it. "What happens when we land?" Jennifer asked. "I don't know." Sarah's honesty was disarming. "I haven't thought that far ahead. You planned this whole thing, but didn't think about what comes next. I thought about 1,000 different versions of what comes next. I just don't know which one is going to happen." Sarah's hand stilled on Noah's back. "That depends on you, on me, on what you want, on whether you're ready to be in his life, really in his life. Not just signing checks or showing up for birthdays when your schedule allows." Sarah's eyes were fierce now. "Because if you can't commit, if you're going to treat him like another business obligation, then I need you to walk away now. Before he gets attached. Before he gets hurt." The words hit Jennifer like a physical blow. "You think that's what I do? I think that's what you've always done." Sarah's voice wasn't cruel, just matter of fact. "You prioritize your work above everything else. That's who you are, Jennifer. That's who you've always been. People can change. Can they?" Sarah looked at her searchingly. "Can you?" Jennifer didn't have an answer, because the truth was she didn't know. She'd built her entire life around her work, around the next deal, the next acquisition, the next win. It had defined her for so long that she didn't know who she'd be without it. But looking at Noah, at his small, sleeping form, she felt something shift inside her. A crack in the foundation she'd built so carefully. "I want to try," Jennifer said quietly. "I know I don't deserve it. I know I've already missed so much. But I want to try." Sarah studied her for a long moment. Jennifer forced herself to hold the gaze, to not look away, to let Sarah see whatever she needed to see. Finally, Sarah nodded just slightly. "Okay, We'll start there. The rest of the flight passed in a strange limbo. They didn't talk much, both lost in their own thoughts. Jennifer pulled out her phone at one point, thinking about the meetings waiting for her in Miami, the call she'd need to make. But she put it away without opening anything. For the first time in 15 years, work felt like the wrong priority. When the captain announced their descent, Noah woke with a small whimper. Sarah soothed him, murmuring gentle words as he blinked in confusion. He looked around the cabin, still half asleep, and his eyes landed on Jennifer. For a moment, he just stared. Then he turned back to Sarah. "Mommy, who's that?" Sarah's eyes flicked to Jennifer, a question in them. Jennifer gave a tiny nod. "This is Jennifer," Sarah said softly. "She's an old friend of mine." Noah considered this, his small face serious. "Oh, hi." "Hi, Noah," Jennifer said, trying to keep her voice steady. "We're going to see palm trees," Noah announced, apparently deciding Jennifer was acceptable. "Mommy said there are palm trees in Miami." "There are," Jennifer agreed. "Lots of them." Noah seemed pleased by this confirmation. He turned back to the window, pressing his face against the glass as the plane descended through the clouds. Below, Miami emerged like a jewel, all lights and water and sprawling development. Jennifer had been here dozens of times, had properties scattered throughout the city. But seeing it now, through Noah's eyes, it looked different, new. The landing was smooth. As the plane taxied to the gate, passengers around them began gathering their things, checking phones, preparing to disembark. Jennifer reached up for her briefcase, then hesitated. "Where are you staying?" she asked Sarah. "The Marriott downtown, near the conference center." Jennifer nodded. She had a penthouse suite at the Four Seasons. Her assistant had arranged it weeks ago. But suddenly the idea of going to an empty hotel room, of spending the night alone while Sarah and Noah were across the city, felt unbearable. She stopped unsure. "Can I see you tomorrow? Both of you?" Sarah unbuckled Noah and stood, settling him on her hip. He wrapped his arms around her neck, his toy truck still clutched in one small hand. "The conference runs until 6, Sarah said. "After that, maybe. I'll clear my schedule." Something flickered in Sarah's eyes. Surprise, maybe, or skepticism. "Okay," she said finally. "Text me tomorrow afternoon. We'll figure it out." They filed off the plane with the other passengers, moving through the jet bridge into the fluorescent brightness of the terminal. Jennifer felt disoriented, like she'd landed in a different world than the one she'd left. At the end of the jet bridge, Sarah paused. Noah was getting heavy in her arms, and she shifted his weight with practiced ease. "Jennifer," she said, her voice quiet. "Thank you for listening, for not making this harder than it needed to be." Jennifer wanted to say something meaningful, something that would capture the chaos of emotions churning inside her. But all she managed was, "Thank you for telling me." Sarah nodded. Then she turned and walked toward baggage claim, Noah's head resting on her shoulder, his eyes already drooping again. Jennifer stood there for a moment, watching them disappear into the crowd. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. Her assistant, undoubtedly, with a list of urgent matters that needed her attention. She pulled it out, looked at the screen, and then did something she'd never done before. She turned it off. Then she walked through the terminal, out into the humid Miami night, and tried to figure out who she was going to be tomorrow. The Miami sun beat down mercilessly at 11 in the morning. Jennifer sat in the back of a town car, stuck in traffic on Biscayne Boulevard, her phone clutched in her hand. She turned it back on an hour ago and had been staring at Sarah's contact information ever since, her thumb hovering over the message icon, but never quite pressing it. The driver merged lanes, adding another 5 minutes to what should have been a 10-minute trip. Jennifer had canceled her morning meeting with the property management team, pushed her afternoon contract signing to next week, and cleared everything else from her calendar. Her assistant had called 3 times, each message more frantic than the last. Jennifer hadn't called back. She typed out a message to Sarah, deleted it, typed another one, deleted that too. Everything she wrote sounded wrong. Too casual, too formal, too desperate, too detached. Finally, she settled on something simple. "Are you free this evening? I'd like to take you and Noah to dinner." She hit send before she could overthink it. The response came faster than she expected. Conference ends at 6. Noah will be tired, but we can do 7. Nothing too fancy. Jennifer felt something loosen in her chest. She typed back quickly. I know a place. Quiet, good food, kid-friendly. I'll send you the address. She forwarded the details to Sarah, then spent the rest of the drive researching child-friendly restaurants in Miami. By the time she reached her hotel, she'd made a reservation at a small Italian place in Coconut Grove that had outdoor seating and reportedly excellent pizza that kids loved. Her suite was exactly as she'd left it, untouched except for the fresh towels and the turned-down bed. Jennifer dropped her bag on the couch and walked to the floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the ocean. The water was impossibly blue, dotted with sailboats and jet skis. People were living their lives down there, enjoying the sun, the water, the freedom of a day with no obligations. Jennifer couldn't remember the last time she'd had a day like that. Her phone rang. She glanced at the screen, and her stomach dropped. Robert Chun, her chief financial officer. She considered letting it go to voicemail, but old habits were hard to break. She answered, Chun. Jennifer, thank God. I've been trying to reach you all morning. His voice was tight with stress. We have a situation with the Portland acquisition. What kind of situation? The investors are getting cold feet. They want to see you personally before they sign. Today, if possible. Jennifer closed her eyes. The Portland deal was massive, potentially the biggest of her career. $50 million in commercial development, anchor tenants already lined up, projections that would make her company one of the top 3 developers on the West Coast. I'm in Miami, she said. I know. That's why I booked you on a flight at 3. You could be in Portland by 8-hour time, meet with them over dinner, and close this before they walk. Jennifer looked at her reflection in the window. Behind her, the hotel room stretched out, expensive and empty. She thought about Sarah and Noah, about the dinner reservation she'd just made, about the promise she'd made to herself on the plane last night. No, she said. There was a long pause. I'm sorry, what? I said no. I'm not flying to Portland today. Jennifer, this is $50 million. If we lose this deal because you couldn't show up for one dinner, then we lose it. Jennifer's voice was firm. Send Marcus. He knows the project as well as I do. They don't want Marcus. They want you. They want to look the great Jennifer Hayes in the eye and know their money is in good hands. Then tell them I'm dealing with a family emergency. Tell them whatever you need to tell them. But I'm not coming. Jennifer ended the call before Chun could argue further. She stood there for a moment, her heart pounding, waiting for the regret to hit. It didn't come. Instead, she felt something that might have been relief. Her phone rang again. She ignored it. It rang 3 more times over the next hour. She ignored those 2. At 6:30, Jennifer stood outside the Italian restaurant, wearing jeans and a simple white blouse, more casual than she'd dressed in years. She felt exposed without her usual armor of tailored suits and designer heels. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, and the air smelled like salt and garlic bread. A taxi pulled up to the curb. Sarah stepped out first, then reached back to help Noah. The boy was wearing shorts and a T-shirt with a T-Rex on it, his hair slightly mussed, his face flushed from the heat. When Noah spotted Jennifer, he waved, a big enthusiastic gesture that made her chest ache. Hi, Jennifer, he called out. Hi, Noah. Jennifer walked over, stopping a respectful distance away. She wasn't sure what the protocol was, wasn't sure how to be around him. Sarah looked exhausted. There were dark circles under her eyes, and she moved with the careful slowness of someone who'd been on their feet all day. But she smiled when she saw Jennifer, and it seemed genuine. Thank you for this, Sarah said quietly. Of course. Jennifer gestured toward the restaurant. Shall we? Inside, the hostess led them to a table on the patio, nestled under a pergola covered in flowering vines. String lights hung overhead, casting a warm glow. Noah climbed into his chair and immediately started examining the crayons and paper the hostess had provided. Jennifer sat across from Sarah, hyper-aware of every movement, every glance. She'd negotiated billion-dollar deals with some of the most powerful people in the country, but sitting across from her ex and their child felt infinitely more intimidating. A waiter appeared, friendly and efficient. Sarah ordered water and a glass of wine. Jennifer did the same. When the waiter asked about Noah, Sarah ordered him milk and asked if the kitchen could make plain pasta with butter. "He's picky," Sarah explained after the waiter left. "I'm working on it, but right now it's basically pasta, chicken nuggets, and the occasional piece of fruit." "That sounds normal for a 3-year-old, Jennifer said, though she had no idea if it was true. Sarah smiled faintly. "I hope so. Sometimes I worry I'm doing everything wrong." "You're not." The words came out more forcefully than Jennifer intended. "I mean, he seems happy. Healthy. That's what matters, right?" Sarah's expression softened. "Thank you. That's kind of you to say." They fell into an awkward silence. Noah filled it by narrating his drawing, a complex story involving dinosaurs and rockets that Jennifer couldn't quite follow, but found herself listening to anyway. The waiter returned with their drinks and took their food order. Jennifer ordered the special, not really caring what it was. Sarah ordered a salad. They handed back their menus, and the silence descended again. "How was the conference?" Jennifer asked finally. "Good. Long." Sarah took a sip of wine. "I gave a presentation on trauma-informed care for preschoolers. It went well, I think. People asked good questions." "That's great. Really great." Sarah studied her. "What about you? What brings you to Miami?" "A property deal. Commercial development in Brickell." Jennifer paused. "I was supposed to fly to Portland today for another meeting. I canceled it." Sarah's eyebrows rose slightly. "You canceled a meeting?" "I did." Jennifer Hayes canceling a business meeting. That's a first. There was no malice in Sarah's tone, just surprise and maybe a hint of something else. "Hope, perhaps." "People change," Jennifer said, echoing her words from the plane. "Do they?" Sarah asked, also echoing herself. Before Jennifer could respond, Noah dropped a crayon and it rolled under the table. Jennifer bent to retrieve it at the same time Noah did, and they nearly bumped heads. Noah giggled, finding this hilarious. Jennifer handed him the crayon, and Noah's small fingers brushed against hers. She froze, caught off guard by the warmth of his skin, the realness of him. "Thank you," Noah said solemnly, then went back to his drawing. Jennifer straightened, her heart hammering. Such a small thing, such a brief touch, but it felt monumental. Their food arrived. Noah's plain pasta came in a bowl shaped like a dinosaur, which delighted him. He dug in with enthusiasm, getting butter on his face almost immediately. Sarah wiped it off with a napkin, patient and practiced. Jennifer picked at her meal, her appetite gone. She watched Sarah and Noah, saw the easy rhythm between them, the unspoken communication. Sarah knew without asking that Noah needed his pasta cut into smaller pieces. She knew he wouldn't drink his milk unless she put it in the special cup she'd brought from home. She knew he'd eat exactly half the pasta and declare himself full. These were things Jennifer would never know. Moments she'd never get back. "You're staring," Sarah said softly. Jennifer blinked. "Sorry. I'm trying to understand." "Understand what?" "How to be part of this. Part of his life." Jennifer set down her fork. "I don't know how to do this, Sarah. I don't know how to be a parent." Sarah was quiet for a moment, her hand resting on Noah's shoulder as he colored. "No one knows how at first. You learn as you go. But you had 3 years to learn. I'm starting from nothing. Then start small." Sarah's voice was gentle. "Don't try to be everything at once. Just try to be present." Present. Such a simple word. Such an impossible concept for someone who'd spent 15 years being everywhere except where she was. Noah finished his pasta and declared he was done. Sarah negotiated 2 more bites, then gave up. The waiter cleared their plates and brought the dessert menu. Noah's eyes went wide when he saw the picture of the chocolate lava cake. "Can I have that one, Mommy? Please?" Sarah glanced at Jennifer, who nodded. "Sure, buddy. We can share." Noah bounced in his seat, excited. When the cake arrived, he insisted on feeding Sarah the first bite, and Jennifer watched as Sarah made exaggerated sounds of delight that made Noah laugh. "Want to try, Jennifer?" Noah asked, holding out a forkful of cake. Jennifer hesitated, then leaned forward and let him feed her. The chocolate was rich and warm, but what stuck with her was the look of pride on Noah's face. "Good, right?" he asked. "Very good," Jennifer agreed. They finished the cake together, the 3 of them sharing from one plate. It felt domestic in a way that terrified Jennifer. This was what families did. They shared meals and desserts and small moments that added up to something larger. After dinner, they walked along the sidewalk. The evening had cooled slightly, and a breeze carried the scent of the nearby bay. Noah walked between Sarah and Jennifer, holding Sarah's hand. He was getting tired, Jennifer could tell. His steps were slower, his voice quieter. "There's a park nearby," Jennifer said. "Would you like to see it? Or is it too late?" Sarah checked her watch. 10 minutes. Then we really need to get back. The park was small, just a patch of grass and a few swings. Noah made a beeline for the swings, his tiredness momentarily forgotten. Sarah helped him into the seat and started pushing him gently. Jennifer stood to the side, feeling useless. She watched Noah's face light up with each arc of the swing, heard his delighted squeals. "Want to push him?" Sarah asked. Jennifer moved forward uncertainly. Sarah stepped back, letting Jennifer take over. The first push was too tentative. The second was too hard, and Noah gasped. The third was closer to right, and Noah laughed. "Higher," he demanded. "Not too high," Sarah cautioned. "He'll get scared." Jennifer found a rhythm, pushing steadily, watching Noah's joy. This simple act of pushing a child on a swing shouldn't have felt so significant, but it did. It felt like crossing a threshold, like being allowed into a space she'd been locked out of. After a few minutes, Noah wanted down. He ran to the sandbox, but Sarah called him back. "Time to go, buddy. It's getting late." Noah protested, but didn't fight too hard. Sarah scooped him up, and he nestled against her shoulder, his energy finally depleted. They walked back toward the restaurant where Sarah had parked. Jennifer walked alongside them, her hands in her pockets, unsure what to say. At the car, Sarah settled Noah into his car seat. He was already half asleep, his head lolling to the side. Sarah closed the door gently and turned to Jennifer. "Thank you for tonight. He had fun." "I had fun too." Jennifer surprised herself by meaning it. "Can I see you again? Before you go back to Denver?" Sarah hesitated. "When do you fly out?" "I don't know. I can stay as long as I need to." Sarah searched her face, looking for something. Whatever she found must have been sufficient because she nodded. "Tomorrow's my last day at the conference. It ends at 3. We could meet at the beach. Noah loves the ocean." "The beach sounds perfect. Text me the location." Sarah opened her car door, then paused. "Jennifer, I need to tell you something." Jennifer's stomach dropped. "Okay. There are people who don't want you to know about Noah. People who will do anything to keep this quiet." The words hung in the air between them, ominous and confusing. "What people?" Jennifer asked. "People from your company. From your board." Sarah's voice dropped. "The reason I left wasn't just because of your work schedule. It was because someone told me that if I stayed, if I had this baby, they would destroy everything you'd built. They said they'd leak stories about us, about my past, about things that weren't even true. They said you'd lose investors, lose your company, lose everything." Jennifer felt cold despite the warm evening. "Who told you this?" "His name is Marcus Webb. He's my vice president." Jennifer's voice came out flat. "He's been with me since the beginning. He came to me 6 months before I left. Said the board was concerned about optics, about your image. They wanted you focused, unattached, available. A pregnant girlfriend was bad for business." Sarah's hands clenched. "He said if I really loved you, I'd leave. That it was the only way to protect you." Jennifer's mind reeled. Marcus had been her right hand, her trusted advisor. He'd been at her side through every major decision, every crisis, every triumph. "Why didn't you tell me?" Jennifer asked. "Because I believed him. Because you were about to close the biggest deal of your life, and I didn't want to be the reason it fell apart." Sarah's eyes glistened. "I thought I was protecting you." "You were protecting me?" Jennifer's voice rose slightly. "Sarah, you took my child and disappeared. You let me think you just didn't want to be with me anymore. How was that protecting me?" "Because the alternative was watching them destroy you. Watching your company implode, your reputation ruined, everything you'd worked for gone." Sarah's voice broke. "I couldn't be the reason for that. I couldn't live with that." Jennifer wanted to be angry, wanted to rage at the manipulation, at the years stolen from her. But underneath the anger was something else. Understanding. because she knew how ruthless her board could be, how image-conscious, how willing to sacrifice anything for the bottom line. "I need names," Jennifer said. "Everyone who was involved in this." "Jennifer, please don't. I need names, Sarah. If what you're saying is true, if people from my own company threatened you, manipulated you into leaving, then I need to know who they are." Sarah looked at her for a long moment. Then she reached in her purse and pulled out a folded piece of paper. She handed it to Jennifer. "I kept everything. Every email Marcus sent, every phone call, every meeting. I documented it all. I told myself it was just in case, but really I think I was waiting for this moment." Jennifer unfolded the paper. It was a list of names. Marcus Webb at the top, followed by 3 board members, a company lawyer, and someone from HR. They all knew. Jennifer asked, her voice hollow. "They orchestrated it. Made it seem like they were looking out for you, when really they were looking out for themselves. Your company was about to go public. They needed you focused, unattached, and profitable. A family was too complicated." Jennifer folded the paper carefully and slipped it into her pocket. Her hands were shaking. "I should have fought," Sarah said quietly. "I should have told you and let you decide. But I was scared, and I was young, and I believed them when they said this was the only way." Inside the car, Noah stirred, making a small sound. Sarah glanced back at him, her expression shifting to concern. "I need to get him back to the hotel," she said. "But Jennifer, please be careful. These people have a lot to lose if the truth comes out." "Good," Jennifer said. "They should." Sarah reached out and touched Jennifer's arm. "I mean it. Be careful." Then she got in the car and drove away, leaving Jennifer standing under a streetlight with a list of names burning a hole in her pocket. Jennifer walked back to her own hotel, her mind spinning. The Miami streets were alive with nightlife, music spilling from bars, people laughing and dancing. But Jennifer moved through it all in a bubble of fury. Marcus had been her mentor, had helped her build her company from nothing, had been there through every late night, every crisis, every victory. And all that time, he'd been working against her. She pulled out her phone and called him. He answered on the second ring. "Jennifer, thank God. Listen, about Portland, we need to talk." Jennifer cut him off. "In person? I'm in Seattle, but I can fly out tomorrow if..." "No, I'll come to you. I'll be there tomorrow evening. Clear your schedule." "Jennifer, what's going on?" "We'll talk tomorrow." She ended the call. Then she called her head of security, a former FBI agent named Catherine Ross who'd been with her company for 5 years. "Kate, I need you to pull some records for me. Personnel files, board meeting minutes, everything from 4 years ago. Specifically, anything involving Marcus Webb and board decisions regarding my personal life." "That's unusual," Kate said carefully. "Can you tell me what this is about? Not over the phone, but I need this done quietly. No one can know what you're looking for." "Understood. I'll have it for you by morning." Jennifer ended the call and stared out at the Miami skyline. Somewhere in this city, Sarah was putting Noah to bed, probably reading him a story, kissing him goodnight, doing all the things mothers did. And Jennifer was here, alone in a hotel room, planning her next move like it was a business strategy. Maybe Sarah had been right. Maybe Jennifer didn't know how to be anything other than what she was. But that was going to change. She opened her laptop and started making notes. Names, dates, everything Sarah had told her. She worked through the night, building a case, preparing for war. Because if her own people had stolen 4 years of her life, for years with her son, then they were going to pay for it. And Jennifer Hayes always collected her debts. The morning came too quickly. Jennifer had maybe slept 2 hours, her mind too busy cataloging evidence and planning confrontations. She ordered coffee from room service and stood at the window, watching the sunrise paint the ocean in shades of gold and pink. Her phone buzzed. A message from Kate. "Files sent to your secure email. Call me when you're ready to discuss." Jennifer opened her laptop and started reading. What she found made her stomach turn. The paper trail was extensive, meeting minutes from board sessions where her personal life had been discussed at length. Emails between Marcus and the board strategizing how to handle the situation with Sarah. A memo from the company lawyer outlining the legal risks of Jennifer having a child out of wedlock while the company was preparing for its IPO. They called Sarah a liability, a distraction, a problem that needed to be eliminated. There are even budget line items for payments made to a private investigator who dug up information on Sarah's background. Student loans she'd been struggling to pay off. A DUI from when she was 21. A brief stint in therapy after her father died. Nothing scandalous. Nothing that mattered. But they compiled it all anyway, had it ready to leak to the press if Sarah didn't cooperate. Jennifer felt sick. Her phone rang. "Kate, you read the files?" Kate asked without preamble. "I did." "Jennifer, this is bad. If this gets out, if the press learns that your own board intimidated a pregnant woman into leaving, I know. This could destroy the company. The lawsuits alone." "Kate, I need to ask you something." Jennifer's voice was steady. "If you were in my position, what would you do?" There was a long pause. "Honestly, I'd burn it all down and start over. These people betrayed you in the worst possible way. They don't deserve to profit from what they've built on that betrayal." "That's what I thought you'd say." "But Jennifer, if you go after them, you need to be prepared for the fallout. They won't go quietly. They'll fight back with everything they have." "Let them." Jennifer's jaw set. "I have something they don't." "What's that?" "The truth. And a damn good reason to fight." She spent the rest of the morning preparing. She called her lawyer, a sharp woman named Diana Chun who'd handled some of Jennifer's most complex deals. She outlined the situation, sent her the files, and asked for options. Diana called back an hour later. "Jennifer, this is dynamite. If you want to pursue this, we're talking about a complete restructuring of your company. Board members removed, executives fired, possibly criminal charges for intimidation and harassment." "Good, but it will be ugly. Very ugly. The press will have a field day. Your competitors will circle like sharks. Investors might panic." "I don't care. Jennifer, Diana, they took my child from me. They manipulated and threatened someone I loved. They've been profiting for 4 years while I didn't even know I had a son." Jennifer's voice was ice. "I want them gone. All of them. Whatever it takes." Diana was quiet for a moment. "Okay, but we need to be strategic. We can't just go in guns blazing. We need leverage. We need allies. And we need to control the narrative. Tell me what you need." They spent the next 2 hours strategizing. Diana would start reaching out to board members who might be sympathetic, feeling out their positions. She'd also contact a few key journalists, ones who could be trusted to report the story accurately when the time came. Jennifer would confront Marcus directly, but only after securing the support they needed. By the time Jennifer hung up, it was almost 3. She'd missed Sarah's message from earlier asking if they were still on for the beach. She typed a quick response. "Yes. Sorry, work emergency. On my way now." The beach Sarah had chosen was quieter than the main tourist strips, a stretch of sand dotted with palm trees and small cabanas. Jennifer spotted them immediately. Sarah was sitting on a blanket, watching Noah play at the water's edge. He was digging in the sand with a plastic shovel, his concentration absolute. Jennifer approached slowly, sand filling her shoes. Sarah looked up and smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. "Rough morning?" Sarah asked. Jennifer sat down beside her on the blanket. "I read the files. Everything you told me last night, it's all documented. Meeting minutes, emails, everything." Sarah's face went pale. And I'm going to destroy them. "Jennifer, they manipulated you, threatened you, took our son from both of us. They don't get to walk away from that." Sarah looked at Noah, who was now trying to build a sandcastle. "What does that mean for us?" "For him? It means I'm going to fight to make sure nothing like this ever happens again. That no one from my company ever threatens you or Noah again." "But at what cost?" Sarah turned to her, eyes serious. "If you go to war with your own board, if you tear apart everything you've built, where does that leave you?" "Free," Jennifer said simply. They sat in silence, watching Noah. He'd given up on the sandcastle and was now chasing small waves, giggling when the water touched his feet. "He's beautiful," Jennifer said softly. "He is." Sarah's voice was thick with emotion. "And he deserves parents who put him first. Both of them." "I know. I'm trying." "Are you?" Sarah looked at her. "Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're about to start another war. Another all-consuming fight that will take all your time and energy and attention. That's what you do, Jennifer. You fight, and you win, and you move on to the next battle." But that's not what Noah needs. The words stung because they were true. So what do you want me to do? Jennifer asked. Let them get away with it. I want you to think about what matters more. Revenge or being present for your son. Noah ran up to them, dripping wet and covered in sand. Mommy, look what I found. He held out a small shell. That's beautiful, baby, Sarah said, examining it with appropriate seriousness. Should we add it to our collection? Noah nodded enthusiastically, then turned to Jennifer. Do you want to help me find more? Jennifer looked at Sarah, who gave a small nod. I'd love to. She stood and followed Noah back to the water's edge. He was already scanning the sand, his little body bent in concentration. When he found another shell, he held it up triumphantly. Is this a good one? He asked Jennifer. She crouched down to his level. It's perfect. They spent the next half hour searching for shells. Noah maintained a running commentary about which ones were the best, which ones were for keeping, and which ones were for throwing back. Jennifer found herself relaxing, letting go of the anger that had consumed her all morning. This was what mattered. Not board meetings or revenge or corporate warfare. This child, this moment, this simple act of searching for shells on a beach. When Noah finally tired and returned to Sarah, Jennifer sat down beside them again. Noah climbed into Sarah's lap, tired and sandy, and Sarah wrapped her arms around him. I'm not saying don't hold them accountable, Sarah said quietly, continuing their earlier conversation. But maybe don't let it consume you. Maybe find a way to do it that doesn't take you away from him again. Jennifer nodded slowly. You're right. I'll figure something out. Noah yawned, his small body going limp against Sarah. He'd be asleep soon. We should get him back, Sarah said. We have an early flight tomorrow. Tomorrow. Jennifer felt panic rise in her chest. Already. We've been here 3 days. I have patients scheduled for Monday. Can you extend? Just a few more days? Sarah looked at her sadly. Jennifer, we can't keep extending. We have lives to get back to. Then let me come with you. To Denver. I'll stay for a week, spend time with Noah, figure this out properly. Sarah seemed surprised. You do that? Yes. Jennifer meant it. Work can wait. This can't. Sarah studied her for a long moment. Then, slowly, she nodded. Okay. But, Jennifer, if you commit to this, you have to actually commit. No halfway. No getting distracted by the next crisis. Noah needs consistency. I understand. They walked back to the parking lot, Noah asleep in Sarah's arms. At Sarah's rental car, Jennifer helped buckle Noah into his car seat while he dozed. I'll book a flight to Denver for tomorrow, Jennifer said. Text me your address, and I'll meet you there. Sarah nodded. Thank you for today. For the beach, for spending time with him. Thank you for letting me. Sarah got in the car, and Jennifer watched them drive away. Then she pulled out her phone and called Diana. Change of plans, Jennifer said. I'm with Denver for a week. Maybe 2. Handle the board situation remotely. Build the case, but don't move on anything until I'm back. Jennifer, are you sure? Delay gives them time to prepare. I'm sure. There's something more important I need to do first. She ended the call and booked a flight to Denver for the next afternoon. Then she sat in her car in the parking lot and cried for the first time in years. Not because she was sad, but because for the first time since Sarah left, she felt like she might actually get a second chance. Denver greeted Jennifer with clear skies and mountain air that tasted different from anywhere else she'd been. She stood outside the airport, waiting for her rideshare, her single suitcase at her feet. For the first time in 15 years, she'd packed light. No laptop, no briefcase full of contracts, just clothes and a children's book she'd bought at the airport bookstore about a dinosaur who was afraid of the dark. The driver dropped her at a modest apartment complex in the Capitol Hill neighborhood. The building was older, brick with white trim, flower boxes and some windows. Nothing like the luxury high-rises Jennifer usually inhabited, but it had character. It had life. She texted Sarah that she'd arrived. The response came immediately. Apartment 3B. Doors unlocked. Noah's napping, but should be up soon. Jennifer climbed the stairs, her heart hammering harder with each step. At the 3rd floor, she found the door and knocked softly before letting herself in. The apartment was small but bright. Afternoon sunlight streamed through large windows, illuminating hardwood floors scattered with toys. Children's drawings covered the refrigerator. A bookshelf overflowed with picture books and psychology texts. It smelled like cinnamon and something baking. Sarah emerged from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a dish towel. She'd changed into comfortable clothes, her hair down around her shoulders. She looked more relaxed here, in her own space. "You came," Sarah said, and Jennifer heard the surprise in her voice. "I said I would." "I know. I just wasn't sure you'd actually get on the plane." Jennifer set down her suitcase. "Where should I put this?" "The couch is yours." "I'm sorry I don't have a guest room." "The couch is perfect." They stood there awkwardly for a moment, neither quite sure what to do next. Then a small voice called from down the hall. "Mommy." Sarah moved toward the sound. "Coming, sweetheart." Jennifer followed at a distance. Noah's room was tiny but cheerful, painted blue with glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling. He was sitting up in his toddler bed, rubbing his eyes, his hair sticking up in every direction. When he saw Jennifer, his face lit up. "Jennifer, you're here." The enthusiasm in his voice made Jennifer's chest tighten. "Hi, Noah. I came to visit for a little while. Is that okay?" "Yes." He scrambled out of bed and ran to her, wrapping his small arms around her legs. Jennifer looked at Sarah helplessly. Sarah smiled and nodded, encouraging. Slowly, carefully, Jennifer bent down and hugged him back. He was warm from sleep and smelled like baby shampoo. She closed her eyes and held on just a second longer than necessary. "Are you hungry?" Sarah asked Noah. "I made cookies." "Cookies." Noah released Jennifer and ran toward the kitchen. Sarah caught Jennifer's eye. "He warms up to people quickly. Don't read too much into it." But Jennifer was reading everything into it. Every smile, every touch, every word. She was trying to memorize all of it, to make up for lost time through sheer force of attention. In the kitchen, Noah climbed into his booster seat at the small table. Sarah placed cookies and milk in front of him, then offered some to Jennifer. They sat together, three people who should have been a family years ago, sharing an afternoon snack like it was the most natural thing in the world. "What do you want to do today?" Sarah asked Noah. "Park," he answered immediately through a mouthful of cookie. "We went to the park yesterday." "Park again." Sarah looked at Jennifer. "There's a playground 2 blocks away. He could spend all day there if I let him." "I'd love to see it," Jennifer said. 20 minutes later, they were walking down tree-lined streets, Noah running ahead and then circling back, too excited to walk in a straight line. The neighborhood was alive with Saturday afternoon activity. People working in their yards, kids riding bikes, dogs being walked. It felt like a real community, something Jennifer had never experienced in her sterile downtown condos. The playground was crowded. Noah made a beeline for the slides, and Sarah followed to supervise. Jennifer hung back, watching. She saw how Sarah interacted with other parents, casual conversations about bedtimes and potty training. She saw how Noah played with other children, sharing toys one moment and arguing over them the next. This was his world, his normal, and Jennifer was just a visitor in it. A ball rolled to her feet. A little girl, maybe 5 years old, ran over. "Can you throw it back?" Jennifer picked up the ball and tossed it gently. The girl caught it and ran off without a word. Such a small interaction, but made Jennifer feel included somehow. Noah called from the top of the slide. "Jennifer, watch me." She moved closer, positioning herself where he could see her. He went down the slide with his arms raised, laughing the whole way. At the bottom, he looked at her expectantly. "That was amazing," Jennifer said, and his smile grew even wider. He went down 17 more times. Jennifer counted. Each time, he looked to make sure she was watching. Each time, she made sure he knew she was. When he finally tired of the slide, he moved to the swings. Sarah lifted him into the seat and started pushing, but Noah shook his head. "I want Jennifer to do it." Sarah's eyes met Jennifer's across the playground. Something passed between them, a silent question and answer. Then Sarah stepped aside. Jennifer took over the pushing, finding that same rhythm she discovered in Miami. Noah kicked his legs, trying to make himself go higher. "You're doing great," Jennifer told him. "I'm flying," he shouted. And for a moment, watching him arc through the air, Jennifer felt something shift inside her. This wasn't about deals or money or corporate warfare. This was about a child who wanted her to push him on a swing. This was about showing up, being present, being there. This was about being a parent. When Noah finally had enough, they bought ice cream from a truck and sat on a bench eating while Noah narrated an elaborate story about the playground being a dinosaur kingdom. Jennifer found herself laughing, really laughing, for the first time, and she couldn't remember how long. "You're good with him," Sarah said quietly while Noah was distracted by a passing dog. "I'm trying. I can tell." He responds to you. Jennifer watched Noah, who was now trying to pet the dog while its owner smiled indulgently. "He's incredible, Sarah. You've done an amazing job with him." "Thank you." Sarah's voice was soft. "That means a lot." They walked home as the sun started to set, Noah getting drowsy on Sarah's hip. Back at the apartment, Sarah started dinner while Jennifer sat at the table with Noah, helping him with a puzzle. Or rather, watching him do the puzzle while he explained his process in great detail. Dinner was simple: spaghetti and salad, garlic bread from the bakery down the street. Noah insisted Jennifer sit next to him, and he kept touching her arm throughout the meal, as if making sure she was real. After dinner, Sarah gave Noah a bath while Jennifer cleaned up the kitchen. She could hear them through the thin walls: Noah's protests about washing his hair, Sarah's patient responses. The sounds of a normal evening, a normal family. When Noah emerged in dinosaur pajamas, his hair damp and sticking up, he went straight to Jennifer. "Will you read me a story?" Jennifer looked at Sarah, who nodded. "I'd love to." In Noah's room, Jennifer sat on the edge of his bed while he climbed under the covers. She pulled out the book she'd bought at the airport. "This one?" she asked, showing him the cover. His eyes went wide. "A dinosaur book." She read slowly, doing different voices for each character. Noah giggled at her T-Rex impression. When she finished, he asked her to read it again. So she did. And when she finished the second time, he asked for a third. "One more, then sleep," Sarah said from the doorway. She'd been watching, Jennifer realized, though she wasn't sure for how long. Jennifer read it a third time. By the end, Noah's eyes were drooping. She closed the book and went to stand, but Noah grabbed her hand. "Don't go," he murmured, already half asleep. "I'm not going anywhere," Jennifer said. "I'll be right in the living room. Promise." "I promise." He released her hand and turned on his side, clutching a stuffed brachiosaurus. Within minutes, his breathing evened out. Jennifer stood there for a moment, just watching him sleep. Then she felt Sarah's hand on her shoulder, gently guiding her out of the room. In the living room, Sarah poured them each a glass of wine. They sat on opposite ends of the small couch, the space between them feeling both vast and insignificant. "Thank you for today," Sarah said. "He really enjoyed having you here." "I enjoyed it too, more than I expected." "What did you expect?" Jennifer considered. "I don't know. That would be harder, maybe. That I wouldn't know what to do or say. That he wouldn't want me around. He wants everyone around. He's 3. Sarah smiled. "But I know what you mean. You're natural with him." That surprised me. "It surprises me too." They sat in comfortable silence for a while, sipping wine and listening to the sounds of the city outside. Finally, Sarah spoke. "What happened with your board?" "With Marcus?" Jennifer had been avoiding thinking about it all day. "Diana's building a case. She's reached out to some board members, feeling out who might support removing Marcus and the others involved. It's going to be a fight." "Are you ready for that fight?" "I don't know." Jennifer set down her wine glass. "This morning I would have said yes. But tonight, after spending the day with Noah, I'm not sure anymore. Maybe you were right. Maybe revenge isn't worth the cost." Sarah studied her. "What changed your mind?" "Pushing Noah on a swing, reading him a book, eating ice cream, and listening to his dinosaur stories." Jennifer met Sarah's eyes. "I missed 4 years of that. I don't want to miss any more because I'm busy destroying the people who took it from me." "So what will you do?" "I don't know yet, but I know I'm not going to let this consume me. Not like I let everything else consume me." Jennifer paused. "I want to be in his life, Sarah. Really in it. Not just weekend visits or video calls. I want to be his parent." "That's a big commitment." "I know. You live in Seattle. We live here. I can relocate. Or split time. I can make it work." Sarah was quiet for a long moment. "What about your company? Your empire?" "I'll figure it out. Delegate more. Step back from day-to-day operations." Jennifer leaned forward. I built that company from nothing. I can rebuild it again if I have to. But I can't rebuild the time I've lost with Noah. And I don't want to lose anymore. You sound different, Sarah said softly. 4 years ago, your company was everything. Now you're talking about walking away from it. Not walking away, just putting in perspective. Jennifer smiled slightly. Turns out there are things more important than being on the Forbes list. Sarah's eyes glistened. I never thought I'd hear you say that. Neither did I. They talked late into the night about everything and nothing. About Noah's quirks and habits. About Sarah's practice. About the life they'd each built separately. The anger and hurt from 4 years ago was still there, hovering at the edges, but something else was growing between them too. Understanding, maybe, or the beginning of forgiveness. When they finally said good night, Jennifer made up the couch while Sarah disappeared into her bedroom. The apartment was quiet except for the distant sound of traffic. Jennifer lay in the darkness, staring at the ceiling, and felt more at peace than she had in years. The next 2 weeks fell into a rhythm. Jennifer woke early and made coffee. Sarah would emerge with Noah, and they'd have breakfast together. Then Sarah would go to her practice for morning appointments while Jennifer took Noah to the park or the library or the children's museum. In the afternoons, they'd all reconvene, cooking dinner together, playing games, reading stories. It was domestic and ordinary and absolutely extraordinary. Jennifer learned Noah's preferences. He liked his sandwiches cut diagonally. He refused to wear anything with buttons. He insisted on the blue cup at breakfast and the green cup at dinner. He had nightmares sometimes about monsters under the bed, and the only thing that helped was leaving the hallway light on. She learned the rhythm of Sarah's days. Morning clients were children, usually. Afternoons were parents seeking guidance. Some evenings she did group therapy sessions. She was building something meaningful, helping families heal from trauma. And slowly, carefully, Jennifer learned how to be part of family herself. On the 10th day, Jennifer's phone rang. It was Marcus. Jennifer, we need to talk. Diana's been making calls, asking questions. What's going on? Jennifer stepped out onto the small balcony, closing the door behind her. Inside, she could see Sarah and Noah building a block tower. I know what you did, Marcus. I know what you all did. There was a long pause. I don't know what you're talking about. 4 years ago. Sarah. The threats, the manipulation, the private investigator. I have all of it. Every email, every meeting minute, every document. Another pause, longer this time. When Marcus spoke again, his voice was different. Harder. Jennifer, you need to be very careful here. You're talking about things that could damage a lot of people, including yourself. Is that a threat? It's a warning from someone who's been watching out for you since the beginning. Watching out for me? Jennifer's voice rose. You drove away the woman I loved. You kept me from my own child. How is that watching out for me? We protected your company. We kept you focused when you needed to be. Everything we did was for your benefit. My benefit? Or yours? How much did you profit when the company went public? Marcus? How much did those board members make off a decision I never got to be part of? You wouldn't have understood. You were too close to the situation. You had no right. Jennifer's hands clenched around the phone. None of you did. So what now? You're going to blow everything up out of spite? Destroy what we built together? What you built on lies. Jennifer took a breath. I want a resignation. Yours and everyone else who was involved. You have 48 hours. Or what? Or I go public. Every document, every email, every sordid detail. Let the press and the shareholders decide what they think about a board that intimidates pregnant women. You wouldn't. The scandal would destroy you too. Maybe, but at least I'd go down telling the truth. Jennifer watched Noah through the glass. He was laughing at something Sarah said. I've already lost 4 years. I have nothing left to lose. Jennifer, please, think about what you're doing. I am thinking. That's the problem. You counted on me not thinking, on me being too busy building empires to notice what you'd taken from me. But I notice now, and I'm done letting you get away with it. She ended the call. Inside, Sarah looked up, concerned. Jennifer stepped back in, and Noah immediately ran to her. Jennifer, come see. We built it so tall. She crouched down to admire the block tower. That's incredible. How did you get it so high? While Noah explained his architectural process, Sarah caught Jennifer's eye and mouth. Everything okay? Jennifer nodded. Later, after Noah was in bed, she told Sarah about the call. So you did it, Sarah said. You confronted him. I gave him an ultimatum. He has 2 days to resign or I go public. And if he doesn't, then I burn it all down. Jennifer met her eyes. Is that wrong? Should I just let it go? Sarah thought for a moment. I think there's a difference between seeking revenge and seeking justice. You're not trying to destroy them because you're angry. You're trying to hold them accountable for what they did. That's different. Is it? I think so. As long as it doesn't consume you. As long as you remember what's really important. Jennifer looked toward Noah's room. I know what's important. The next morning, Diana called. 3 of the 5 board members are willing to step down quietly. Marcus is refusing. So is Gregory Chun, your CFO. Then we proceed. Draft the press release. Line up the documents. If they want to fight, we'll give them one. Jennifer, I need to warn you. This will get ugly. They'll come after you personally. They'll dig up everything they can find to discredit you. Let them. I've got nothing to hide. That afternoon, while Noah napped, Jennifer sat with Sarah on the balcony. I might lose the company, Jennifer said quietly. If this gets as ugly as Diana thinks it will, shareholders might demand I step down too. How do you feel about that? Scared. That company has been my identity for 15 years. Without it, I don't know who I am. Sarah reached over and took her hand. You're Noah's parent. That's who you are. Is that enough? It has to be, because that's what he needs from you. Not a billionaire CEO, just someone who shows up and loves him. Jennifer squeezed her hand. I'm trying to be that person. I know. I can see it. They sat in silence, hands linked, watching clouds drift over the mountains. That evening, Marcus called again. His voice was tight with barely controlled fury. You win. I'll resign. So will Gregory. But understand something, Jennifer. You're making enemies today. People who could have been allies. People who know where all the bodies are buried. Then it's a good thing I'm not afraid of ghosts. You should be, because the ones you create today will haunt you for a long time. I'll take my chances. Jennifer's voice was steady. Have your resignation on my desk by tomorrow morning. And Marcus? Don't ever contact me again. She ended the call and let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. It was done. For years of betrayal, of manipulation, of lies, finally addressed. It didn't feel as satisfying as she'd imagined. It just felt necessary. Noah wandered out of his room, rubbing his eyes. Jennifer, hey buddy, did you have a good nap? He nodded and climbed in her lap, something he'd started doing over the past week. He was warm and heavy and real. Jennifer wrapped her arms around him and rested her chin on his head. I love you, she said, the words surprising her even as she said them. Noah looked up at her, his face serious. I love you too. Sarah appeared in the doorway, and Jennifer saw tears in her eyes. But she was smiling. The next 3 days were chaos. Marcus and Gregory submitted their resignations. 2 other board members followed. The press got wind of something happening, and speculation ran rampant. Jennifer's phone never stopped ringing. But through it all, she stuck to her routine with Noah. Breakfast, park, lunch, quiet time, dinner, stories. She attended one board meeting via video conference while Noah colored quietly beside her. She negotiated a settlement with the remaining board members while pushing Noah on a swing. She was learning to do both. To be both. Diana sent the final documents. With Marcus and the others gone, Jennifer had restructured her board entirely, brought in new members who valued ethics over profit margins. She'd taken a significant pay cut to fund new transparency initiatives. Some shareholders were furious. Others applauded her. But the company survived. Bruised, certainly. Smaller than it had been. But honest now. Built on truth instead of lies. On Jennifer's last night in Denver, before she had to fly back to Seattle for in-person meetings, Sarah made Noah's favorite dinner. Chicken nuggets and macaroni and cheese. They ate together at the small table, Noah chattering about his day at preschool. After dinner, while Sarah gave Noah his bath, Jennifer stood on the balcony and looked out at the city. Denver had started to feel like home. This small apartment felt more like home than her luxury condo ever had. Her phone buzzed. A message from Kate, her head of security. Thought you'd want to know. Marcus is planning to write a tell-all. His agent is shopping it to publishers. Jennifer stared at the message. A year ago, a month ago, even a week ago, this would have sent her into crisis mode. She would have called lawyers, issued cease and desist letters, fought with everything she had. But tonight, standing on a balcony in Denver with the sound of her son laughing in the bath drifting through the window, she found she didn't care. Let him write his book. Let him tell his version of the story. The truth was already out there, documented and verified. Nothing he could say would change that. She deleted the message without responding. Inside, Noah was ready for bed. He took both Jennifer's hand and Sarah's and led them to his room. They sat on either side of his bed while he arranged his stuffed animals, just so. Jennifer has to go back to Seattle tomorrow, Sarah told him gently. Noah's face fell. No, stay here. I'll come back soon, Jennifer promised. And we can video call every day. You can show me what you're learning at school. But I want you here. I know, buddy. I want to be here too. Jennifer looked at Sarah, then back at Noah. But I have to work sometimes. That's how I make money to help take care of you. Noah considered this. Okay, but come back fast. As fast as I can. That night, after Noah was asleep, Jennifer and Sarah sat on the couch with wine. The apartment was quiet, peaceful. What happens now? Sarah asked. I'm going to look for a place here. Maybe something bigger than this, but still in the neighborhood. Somewhere with a yard. Jennifer paused. If that's okay with you. You moving to Denver? Part-time at least. I can run my company from anywhere. The important stuff happens in boardrooms and conference calls anyway. Jennifer set down her wine. But the important stuff with Noah happens here. In this city, in this life. And I'm not missing any more of it. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. Jennifer, are you sure? That's a huge change. I've never been more sure of anything. Jennifer reached for Sarah's hand. For years ago, I chose wrong. I chose ambition over love, work over family. I'm not making that mistake again. What about us? Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. Is this just about Noah, or is it about us too? Jennifer had been avoiding this question, even in her own thoughts. But sitting here now, in the home Sarah had built, in the life she'd created, the answer was suddenly clear. I still love you, Sarah. I never stopped. But I also know I don't deserve another chance. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Right now, I just want to be part of Noah's life. If there's any possibility of us, of you and me, that's something that will have to grow slowly. If it grows at all. Sarah wiped her eyes. That's fair. That's more than fair. But I want you to know, every choice I'm making now, every change I'm implementing, it's because you were right 4 years ago. I was choosing the wrong things, building the wrong life, and I'm grateful you gave me the chance to fix it. They sat together in the quiet, hands linked, watching the lights of Denver through the window. It wasn't a happy ending. Not yet. There's still too much hurt, too much history, too many years to make up for. But it was a beginning, and sometimes beginnings were enough. The next morning, Jennifer caught her flight back to Seattle. But this time, she had Noah's drawing in her briefcase. This time, she had video calls scheduled. This time, she had a real estate agent looking at properties in Denver. This time, she wasn't walking away. She was just taking the first step in a much longer journey. 3 months later, Jennifer closed on a house in Denver. 3 bedrooms, a backyard with a swing set, walking distance from Sarah's apartment. She'd sold her Seattle penthouse and downsized her company's office space. Some days, she worked from Denver. Some days, she flew to Seattle. But every evening, she had dinner with Noah. He called her Jen now. Not Mom, not yet. Maybe never. But Jen was enough. Jen meant she was part of his life, part of his daily routine, part of his world. 6 months after Denver, Sarah's lease was up. Jennifer didn't ask, didn't pressure. But when Sarah mentioned she was looking for a new place, Jennifer made an offer. Move into the house. You and Noah. I'll take the guest room. No strings, no expectations. Just a bigger space for him to play, a yard for him to explore. And maybe, if you're willing, a chance for us to figure out what we could be. Sarah took 3 days to decide. Then she said yes. They moved in on Saturday. Noah was thrilled with his new room, with the yard, with the fact that both his mothers were under one roof. He didn't understand the complexity of it, the tentative nature of their arrangement. He just knew the people he loved were together. That night, after Noah was asleep, Jennifer and Sarah sat on the back porch. The Denver night was cool, stars visible despite the city lights. "Thank you for this," Sarah said. "For giving us this chance. Thank you for letting me back in." "I'm still scared," Sarah admitted. "Scared you'll get pulled back into that world. Scared work will become everything again." "It won't." Jennifer said it with certainty. "I've learned the difference between success and fulfillment, between winning and actually living. The company is doing fine without me micromanaging every detail. And the parts of my life that are thriving are the parts one thought I didn't have time for. Like Noah, like you." Jennifer turned to face her. "I'm not asking for us to rush into anything. I'm just asking for the chance to prove I've changed, to prove I can be what you and Noah need." Sarah searched her face in the dim light. "What do you need, Jennifer?" "This, right here. This porch, this house, this life. You and Noah sleeping down the hall. The knowledge that when I wake up tomorrow, I get to make him breakfast and hear about his dreams and push him on that swing." Jennifer gestured toward the backyard. "That's what I need." Sarah leaned her head on Jennifer's shoulder. "Then I guess we're all getting what we need." They sat there together as the night deepened. Two women who'd lost each other and found their way back through the child they created. It wasn't the ending either of them had imagined 4 years ago. But it was real, and it was theirs, and it was enough. Inside, Noah dreamed of dinosaurs and playgrounds and the two people who loved him most in the world. And outside, those two people started planning a future none of them had to face alone. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out.